The ring notification still glowed on my phone like a cruel joke. Message failed to send. The 4 words that ended 3 years of my life. No fight, no goodbye. Just digital silence. I stared at the chat window until my vision blurred, willing those gray ticks to turn blue again. They never did. His name, Adam Reed, still sat at the top of my messages, frozen in time. 3 years of shared playlists, late-night talks, and promises that felt carved into my bones, now vanished like smoke. For the first week, I blamed the network. For the second, I blamed myself. By the third, I realized I'd been erased, ghosted. The ugliest word for the gentlest form of cruelty. I was 22, living in a 1-bedroom apartment that smelled of coffee and textbook paper, finishing my architecture degree. He had been the steady voice in my chaos, the one who said he admired how focused I was. He called me his blueprint girl, said he'd build his future around me. I believed him, like an idiot who doesn't check the foundation before moving in. When he disappeared, I told no one. Pretended I was fine, because explaining ghosting feels like explaining air, something invisible yet suffocating. I attended classes, smiled for friends, and scrolled past couples holding hands, pretending it didn't sting. Nights were worse. I'd find myself replaying voice notes, trying to catch the moment he stopped loving me. There wasn't one. That's the thing about ghosts. They vanish before you notice they're gone. 3 months later, life settled into a dull rhythm. I replaced his good morning texts with gym alarms, his calls with lecture replays. Healing looked boring but functional. Until Friday night, Sana, my roommate, barged in waving her phone. Girl, you need to see this. I looked up from my laptop. If it's another cat video, I swear, not a cat. She grinned grimly. A ring. My stomach dropped before my eyes confirmed it. Adam, smiling beside a girl in a sequined gold dress, holding her hand under a cascade of fairy lights. Caption. She said yes. The room tilted. My lungs forgot their purpose. The girl, Maya Lang, was tagged. Her profile read, lifestyle blogger, vegan, engaged to my best friend. 3 years of my time versus her 6 months of captions. Fair trade, apparently, Sana cursed softly. You okay? I laughed. Not a real laugh. One of those hollow sounds people make before they break. Of course. Totally fine. But I wasn't. Because being ghosted was one wound. Seeing your ghost living someone else's perfect story? That was surgical precision cruelty. For days, every scroll through social media was torture. Engagement shoots at the beach, her manicured hand flaunting the diamond. His comments, couldn't have done life without you. Without me, he meant. Something inside me cracked, quiet but final. I closed the apps, deleted his number, but revenge had already taken root like a seed buried deep in frost. It started innocently. I Googled their wedding planner, public account. Then the venue, a lakeside resort 2 hours from the city. Date next month. My rational brain whispered, move on. My bruised heart whispered, finish the story. I didn't want to ruin him. I wanted him to see me, to realize ghosts can walk back into the room. Weeks passed in strange clarity. I finished my semester, submitted my final portfolio, and on nights when sleep failed, I crafted a plan. Not dramatic, precise. Step 1. Get invited. Maya was a blogger. Her event was practically a PR circus. They'd created an RSVP link on a public page for friends of the couple. A click and a fake name later, Lena Frost. +1, I was on the list. Step 2. The look. If he'd buried me as the quiet architecture girl, I'd resurrect as something unforgettable. I bought a deep red satin dress that caught light like fire, hired a hairstylist, and practiced my calm smile in the mirror until it stopped trembling. Step 3. Timing, not the vows. Not the party. The engagement dinner, intimate but public. Enough witnesses for memory, few enough for impact. The night arrived wrapped in December chill. The resort shimmered with fairy lights and champagne laughter. I parked far from the valet circle, heart pounding a rhythm that felt both familiar and foreign. Every instinct screamed turnaround, but ghosts don't get closure by leaving. Inside, the air smelled of roses and privilege. Waiters glided like choreography. I caught glimpses of Adam across the room. Taller hair, Sharper suit, same careless grin. He hadn't changed. Only upgraded accessories. Maya sparkled beside him, every inch the influencer. Cameras loved her. She loved their love. I blended into the crowd, collecting fragments of conversation. Perfect couple. He finally found his match. They met at a charity event. Lies dressed as destiny. I hovered near the bar, nursing sparkling water to steady my shaking hands. The first time he noticed me was mid-speech. He froze for a fraction too long, words catching. Our eyes met across the golden haze. For a heartbeat, the room disappeared. Recognition, guilt, panic. Then he looked away. That, right there, was my confirmation. I wasn't crazy. He knew what he'd done. Maya laughed, unaware, clinking her glass. To new beginnings. New beginnings built on old goodbyes. I could have left then, victorious in silence. But stories like ours deserve punctuation, not ellipses. When dessert arrived, I slipped outside to the patio overlooking the lake. The air tasted like frost and unsaid words. He found me 5 minutes later. Lena, he began, voice cracking on the fake name. I didn't expect me, I smiled. You never do. He looked older up close. Not in years, but in guilt. Listen, things got complicated. You ghosted me, Adam. That's not complicated. That's cowardice. He exhaled, shoulders sagging. I didn't know how to end it. So you didn't. I stepped closer, the hem of my dress brushing his shoes. You just pretended I stopped existing. Tell me, did you delete our photos before or after you proposed? He flinched. Silence expanded between us like ice on water. I did love you, he murmured. No, I said softly. You loved having me. There's a difference. For a moment, he looked small. Then the door opened behind us. Maya's voice floated out. Babe, they want you for photos. He straightened, mask sliding back into place. I have to go, I finished for him. History repeats, right? He hesitated. I'm sorry, I laughed once, quiet and true. No, you're terrified. As he walked away, I felt something shift inside me. An unseen door finally closing. Revenge wasn't public humiliation or viral drama. It was standing in front of your ghost and feeling nothing but clarity. I stayed until the music rose again, then turned toward the parking lot. Halfway there, Maya appeared, heels clicking against stone. Do I know you? She asked, curious, not hostile. You will, I replied, and walked past her, leaving the perfume of closure in my wake. Back in my car, I watched them through the windshield, two figures posing for photos that would flood social feeds by morning. Perfect on the outside, hollow within. Some structures look beautiful until you check the foundation. The engine hummed beneath my fingers, a steady heartbeat of freedom. Snow began to fall, soft and indifferent as I drove away. This time, I was the one vanishing without a trace. The next morning, my phone buzzed with messages I hadn't expected. Sana, of course, had seen the engagement posts explode on social media. Tell me you didn't actually go there, her text read. I typed I did and left it at that. There was no emoji that could capture the calm I felt. Not joy, not sadness, just stillness after a storm that had lasted 3 years. By noon, the internet had already done what it does best. A video clip surfaced from the dinner, blurry but telling. It caught the moment Adam stumbled mid-speech, eyes frozen on someone off camera, on me. The caption read, "When your past shows up uninvited." Comments flooded in like vultures around fresh gossip. I wasn't tagged, but I didn't need to be. Anyone who knew us would connect the dots. By evening, Maya's account went private. Adam's comments turned off. The perfect couple's glitter started losing its shine, but that wasn't my goal. I hadn't come for chaos. I'd come for closure, and for the first time in years, I'd gotten it. Still, closure is deceptive. It doesn't come with trumpets or cinematic music. It arrives quietly, usually when you're doing something ordinary, like grocery shopping or folding laundry, and you realize your chest no longer hurts when his name crosses your mind. That realization hit me a week later in the most mundane place possible, a coffee shop downtown. I was sketching designs for a university project when someone asked if they could share my table. I looked up into eyes that didn't remind me of Adam's, and that alone felt like progress. He introduced himself as Ryan, a software intern new to the city. Easy smile, unpretentious presence. We talked about bad coffee and city traffic, not love or heartbreak. When he asked for my number, I hesitated for only a second before giving it. Healing, I was learning, isn't about avoiding new people. It's about not expecting them to fix the damage someone else left. That night, I scrolled through old photos, not to cry this time, but to clean house. Deleting his pictures felt like reclaiming digital real estate. Each swipe left lightened something inside me. When the folder was empty, I caught my reflection in the dark phone screen. My eyes looked steady, not searching. Days turned into weeks. I finished my thesis with distinction, moved into a new apartment with floor-to-ceiling windows, and started freelancing as a junior architect. My life wasn't a revenge story anymore. It was an evolution. But life, as it often does, loves irony. It was a Sunday evening when the call came. Unknown number. I almost ignored it, but curiosity won. Lena. The voice was unmistakable. For a moment, silence filled the space between memory and reality. "It's Iris," I corrected automatically. My real name. "I know," he said, voice low. I owe you an apology." I leaned back on my couch, the city lights painting gold streaks across my walls. "You already gave it. That night? That wasn't enough." His breath caught. Maya called off the engagement. She found out about everything. I didn't ask how. I didn't need to. The truth has a way of crawling out, no matter how deeply it's buried. "I didn't tell her anything," I said softly. "I know. She said she figured it out when she saw the way I looked at you, like I'd seen a ghost." He laughed hollow. "Funny, right?" I stayed quiet. Sometimes silence says more than closure ever can. I wanted to ask if we could meet, just to talk. "No," I said, steady and calm. "We already talked. You just weren't listening back then." He didn't argue, just exhaled, a sound that carried regret and finality. "You were the best thing that ever happened to me, Iris." "I was the best thing that happened to you, Adam," I corrected. "But you weren't the best thing that happened to me." "Not anymore." I hung up before he could respond. The past had made its last call, and I'd finally learned to let it go to voicemail. Later that week, Ryan and I met again. We spent hours walking along the riverside, talking about everything except relationships. He didn't try to fix me, and I didn't try to impress him. It felt even. That was new. He asked about my work, my dreams, the kind of buildings I wanted to design. "Ones that last," I said. "Not the flashy ones that look good in photos but crumble underneath." He smiled. "So no metaphor there?" I laughed. "Maybe just a little." A month passed. One morning, while sipping coffee on my balcony, I opened an envelope from the architecture firm I'd applied to. "We're pleased to offer you a full-time position." My eyes watered, not from sadness this time, but pride. I messaged Sana, who replied with a dozen heart emojis. Then I texted Ryan, "Drinks on me tonight?" Life was simple again. Not perfect, but mine. One evening, a notification popped up, an email from an unknown sender. The subject line read, "I'm sorry, Adam." I debated deleting it, then opened it anyway. He wrote about therapy, guilt, and lessons learned too late. He said he'd realized ghosting wasn't about avoiding conflict. It was about avoiding accountability. That Maya had moved abroad. That he was trying to be better. The message ended with, "Thank you for being the mirror I didn't deserve." I read it once, twice, then archived it. Not to keep him close, just to remind myself how far I'd come. Months later, on a rainy Friday, Ryan and I were caught under a bus stop awning. Lightning flashed, illuminating his grin. "You ever think about the people who almost broke you?" He asked. "Sometimes," I said. "But mostly I think about the girl who refused to stay broken." He nodded. "I like her. You should keep her around." I smiled. "I plan to." The rain turned softer, drumming rhythmically against the pavement. I thought about the night at that engagement, the cold December air, the trembling hands, the fear of being forgotten. Then I thought about now. Warm light, laughter, a future built not from revenge but resilience. Sometimes, I realized, crashing someone's engagement isn't about destruction. It's about reclaiming your story, about standing in the ruins they left and saying, I'm still here, still whole, still building. The next morning, I got a package at my doorstep. No sender name, just a small box wrapped in brown paper. Inside was a simple silver keychain shaped like a blueprint compass. A note attached read, "For the blueprint girl who built her own foundation." No signature, but I knew who it was from. I placed it beside my sketchbook, a quiet monument to closure. Not forgiveness, not forgetting, just peace. That night, I opened my journal for the first time in months and wrote a single line. Revenge is temporary. Self-respect is permanent. When I turned off the lamp, the city outside hummed with life. Cars, laughter, the sound of people moving on. For the first time since that night he disappeared, I didn't feel the urge to check my phone before sleeping. I didn't need anyone's message to feel seen, because finally, after 3 years of waiting for someone else to finish my story, I'd realized something simple. The best revenge isn't showing up at someone's engagement. It's showing up for yourself.